Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Experimenting with a little bit of, we're going to start running some early shows throughout the week, particularly on Fridays. See if we can get a few more folks into the live streams. And I didn't get to really go on with much yesterday. I was busy with some other stuff. So decided to jump in here and talk a little bit about some things that have popped up over the last few days. First and foremost being obviously you had, let's see, where were we at? Dang it, man. Well, the Pac-12 latest. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors out there concerning whether or not the conference's media deal is going to hold up to what appears to, I mean, you got to figure that this conference is either about to be dead or is dead. And the rumor right now is that Colorado, who apparently had a board meeting about this and was supposed to be met with Brett Yormark for over 5 hours in the last week or so, maybe jumping ship before it even finds out about its newest media deal. We're going to get into that just a little bit. Obviously, there was some news on the recruiting front for Oklahoma as Peyton Pierce made a commitment to the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm going to kind of let you know what I feel about that and, where I feel like that should go and where Oklahoma should really go with it rather than, my feeling is on it that I feel like they ought to go after one other guy that isn't a linebacker more than they should concern themselves with losing him. It could bring them back if they do the right thing. Also, as I said, we'll talk a little bit about that Pac-12 stuff, but then I also was watching a little bit of stuff earlier, a little funny to me. One of my favorite creators on YouTube is Uncle Lou, and he deemed last night's spring game at Florida, the orange and blue game, as, well, he said it might set back college football 100 years. Kind of funny. Yes, even though they did, the Florida Gators did, as F is for Fanatics is saying here, get Xavier, is it Filsamy to go to UF? He is a 5-star safety, and looks like he's going to be pretty good there. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? I know he's a big-time safety. From what I saw on the film, that dude was bringing the wood down. Apparently, the problem, though, F is for Fanatics, is the offense. 14 total passing yards last night. Yikes. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But first, welcome to the show, everybody. Glad everybody showed up. Dakota, how are you? Hey, man, I'm just glad you're here, my man. Just glad you're here. Welcome in Christian for the first time. We're going to have him probably pop into the show here in just a few minutes. Weston, my boy, how's it going? And, of course, Cody from F's for Fanatics. You may or may not like what we got to say about all this stuff. But, no, you're welcome to call in as well. We'll throw that over there to you as well. James, what's up, bud? Yes, younger McCullough's about the same size as his brother. He could move to linebacker. I would agree with that. I agree with that. So yeah, um, yeah. Hey, listen, that'd be great for them. They definitely need to have a defense, I would say, Cody. But you gotta run. You gotta have some offense too. And from what I saw last night and what we're hearing about last night, not good. Not good. Did what end up 7-7? The orange and blue game? I think, but yeah. Uh, listen, I may have. I'm Cody. If you got time, maybe you could jump on and let us know kind of what's going on for a few minutes at least. It didn't look too good. They had to apparently add some extra time just to get the kicker to make one. Uh, you know, hopefully, maybe that's not all true. I don't know. Hey, if you would like to support the show, as you see here, you can leave us tips right through the super chat option or through Venmo and Cash App. Uh, definitely need to have some of that going forward if we're going to be doing this a lot more. So let me know. Yeah, I'll drop that in there for you in just 1 second there, Cody. Also, podcast merchandise. We've got some new merch in there. Check out our seatbelt stuff that we've got in the merch store. Kind of cool stuff. Let us know what you think about it. You know, I'm guessing everybody's going to kind of like it, but hey, maybe you won't. Let me know. We can maybe make some changes to it if necessary, but I think it looks pretty cool myself. I know I'm going to be getting one coming in pretty soon as well. Not going to lie, I haven't been watching any of the spree games. Yeah, that's all right. Apparently it wasn't worth watching last night, according to according to Uncle Lou. Of course, he is a Georgia fan. Let's just make that clear. Uncle Lou's a Georgia fan. So he's gonna give him a hard time. But he did start off his whole show saying he felt like he owed Auburn an apology for trashing them on their spring game after watching the orange and blue game last night. But anyway, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair statement, James. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, let's talk first. Peyton Pierce. Peyton Pierce has, yeah, of course he is. Come on, man. He's a freaking Georgia guy. Who else is gonna troll? if he's not gonna troll you, who's gonna? Who's gonna? But let's talk Peyton Pierce, guys, real quick. Actually, you know what? If you've got a little bit of time, Cody, jump in real quick. Let me go ahead and send you the invite real quick. You can jump in for just a minute or two. And then that we'll go ahead and talk about this since we're already in the middle of it, it seems like. And you can tell us what you thought of it. But yeah, stadium nice, product sucks. Okay. Yeah, I'll hop in. Do you think we'll go after Brennan Thompson? It sounds like it. It sounds like they may. And wow, and we're going to talk a little bit with Christian about that as well here coming up. When we get to talking about that other stuff. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and wait to talk about the whole Peyton Pierce stuff, because we were having a conversation earlier that kind of went with that. So I think he would add something to that heading in here as well. I think that you probably want to. It's because from what I understand, maybe losing somebody to the portal ourselves there from that position. So we'll find out. But yeah, as soon as we get Cody in here, we will talk a little bit about this Florida game. Also, Pac-12 stuff sounds like it almost sounds to me like CU. I remember I said the other night that it looks like they are the number one target for Brett Yormark and the Big 12. I've been saying all along that that's probably their best option. In view of the fact that CU is a former Big 12 school, Big 8 school, it's looking like that's one of those deals where you probably want to go ahead and do that. On top of the fact that, when it comes to promotion and that kind of stuff, Coach Prime and Brett Yormark are probably a match made in heaven. Let me go ahead and bring on F is for Fanatics, Cody. My dude, what's up, man?
What's up? Can you see me?
I cannot see you.
Oh, shoot.
But I can hear you. I can hear you. Hello? Did you kick out? Let me kick him back out. Let's come right back in. All right. So picking up speed now that yeah. Uh, yeah. Dude, that was something. In fact, I want to pull that picture up. Holy crap. Jacquez Petaway looks more like a linebacker than he looks like than he looks like a freaking receiver at this point right now. I think if anybody was checking out my Twitter earlier, the first thing I said was Anthony who or Anthony Evans who. So wow. That dude was holy crap. Let me find that picture real quick because Chris sent me that and I was like, oh my God. Where is that? There he is. Let me share that with you guys. It's pretty funny. I mean, whoa. And look at this guy. This is a freaking receiver, right? I mean, 5'11", but whoa, you know. Cody,
What's up?
still not seeing you, but I do hear you, and that's okay.
I'm on my iPhone, so I don't know what's going on. But talking a little bit about the spring game, we had a couple tight ends out. We had 4 offensive linemen out. The defense looked really, really good.
Yep.
Which, especially on the defensive line, which we've had just trouble with the defensive line for years and years.
10 sacks last night, huh?
Yeah. So, and you don't obviously a lot of people are expecting it to look like AR-15 and company, and it's not that. So yeah, it's not what last year is going to be, and I think that's the biggest thing with fans is they really need to settle the expectations. Now, do I think that that offense is what's going to look like it at Utah? Absolutely not. Usually the defense is ahead of the offense in all spring training, right? Even in the NFL, the pros. Usually the defense is pretty dominant early, right? I guess you're not supposed to blitz, but Armstrong said, the hell with that. We blitzed every play. So there is that also. He was really changing up the defense. I mean, he called it like a game. He said, yeah, I'm going to call it like a game. So he did call it like a game. I like that. The running backs looked good. And I mean, Mertz went 238. I think he threw, he was like 16 for 24. And for Uncle Lou to hop the quarterback, right? Didn't Carson Beck just throw like 6 INTs and 3 touchdowns like a week ago?
I love it. This is what I was hoping for.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
How dare you?
Oh, how dare he? And what else would he do? Bro, what do you expect? What do you expect from Uncle Lou? Come on now. Is it freaking easy? He hates Florida. And just like you hate him. Just like you hate Georgia. Come on, bro.
Yeah, he does.
That's how it's supposed to be. If he wasn't doing that, come on, man. Come on.
It's if you said, Cody, listen, we can have a spring game that looked like last year and all the previous years where the offense
lit it up or whatever. Yeah.
Puts up 30 points, 35 points.
Sure.
Or you can say, look, it's going to be 7-10 and it's going to be defensive dominated after as bad as the defense is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm live. Yeah. I'm live. So if you said it's going to be 7-10 and the defense.
Oh, I'm thinking what he was getting at is he will take what he saw on the defense before he would take the normal offensive output in the orange and blue game. Oh, I got you back. Is that what you were saying?
What?
That you'll take what you saw from the defense last night over what you usually see in this game, which is a total dominance by the offensive side. Is that what you're
absolutely? With as bad as the defense now, guys, we're not talking. This defense isn't like like Georgia, right? So,
Mhm.
it's not like, oh, well, the defense really played vanilla, and, that's why the offense was so good.
Yeah.
Florida and Oklahoma had two of the worst defenses in the nation.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
So
I know.
I don't mind it. Yeah, is it boring to watch? Yeah, it was really, really boring to watch. I get that.
No, obviously, the only thing I was going to bust everybody's chops about is, you and High Top are all excited. Everybody seems all excited about Florida football, but nobody was there. It looked like the freaking Coliseum. It looked
Yeah,
like
it's Thursday.
USC.
Yeah, supposedly 40,000 showed up.
Oh, hell, there ain't no way. There
Yeah,
ain't no way. I saw the pictures.
No, I think well, you got to take into account it's a Thursday.
I get it.
And I could really give a shit less, because we all know.
Yeah.
Come game one, the Swamp, there'll be 96,000 people stuffed in there. Okay. I could care less about spring game. It's more of it's a practice. It's a televised practice. It's on a Thursday. It was supposed to be rained out. So that also doesn't help for people to say, should I take off work when it's going to be rained out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got it. And I get it. And Hank was asking here, the question is always, was it good defense or was it bad offense?
Good defense.
Okay.
Yeah, Caleb Banks out of Louisville. He's about 325 pounds. He's got elite speed. Cameron Jackson, big nose guard out of Memphis. We got and we've talked about this before. What's the hardest pressure for a quarterback? Is that right up the middle? Aaron Donald has made a career off of that, and that's what we saw last night. The snaps were not great. True freshman in there.
Yeah. That was another thing. They weren't seemingly. I mean, they were having a hard time getting the snap off. So
Yeah. He's a true freshman. He's a true freshman.
Yeah, I get it.
Which when you're going up against guys.
Look, and it's spring. Let's just kind of put it into the right perspective here. It is spring, and you would hope that you're probably going to get a little better look out of that offense, particularly with an offensive head coach like Billy. My thoughts are that, but I would agree with you in view of the fact of what we've gone through here as Oklahoma fans. We know what you mean when you say you would rather see a dominant offense. But I wouldn't exactly say that your offense was that great last year either. I mean, Anthony Richardson, who's no longer there, looked good at times, but they showed a few flashes here and there. But to be honest with you, you're really looking. Go ahead.
Wasn't great. We run the ball a lot. We got two NFL backs and ETN. I'll tell you what, that Cam Carroll out of Tulane, did you see him hurdle that kid?
Yeah. No, and look, listen. I did see some good stuff out of him, and I was going to get to that. But the main thing is like, to me, it's a little worrisome if it's fine to have that defense really step forward, but and it is a glorified practice as Hank is saying. I understand that, but in the end, and you probably don't want to show a whole lot either. I'm guessing if I'm Billy, I probably am just fine with showing that they look like trash as compared to entering the season, everybody thinking that offensively you're going to be great.
Well, defensively, it's okay to show a little bit more.
Sure.
Because we've seen it. I watched every single game from Southern Miss when Armstrong came on. I watched every single game. That was exactly what he did at Southern Miss. Mm-hmm. The exact same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Corner blitzes, safety blitz. I mean, they had heat coming from everywhere. So, and let's talk about this for a second. We talked the center play was not very good. The main center is out right now, which it happens. Guys get dinged up. A lot of guys are recovering from surgeries from last year still.
No, I get it, man. I get it.
And so you have that. But I will say this.
Look at that, Gator fans. He is in here defending the Gators' honor with vigor.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, there's some things I didn't like. Okay,
I know, brother.
I'll tell you here in a second what I didn't like. But I'll say this: you have a true freshman stepping in, and you have. In the
interest of keeping my audience around who doesn't really care that much about Florida, we were just going to troll you a little bit. Let's not get too much deeper into this. We're just busting your chops more than anything, man. I knew I'd probably get you or Preston to pop on just by saying whatever I said.
Yeah, it worked.
So there we go.
Let me say this real fast though. if you're a true freshman, right, center,
Yeah.
and you are your first true start in a scrimmage game, and you're lining up against guys that the defensive line, there's not a guy on the defensive line that is under 300 pounds. Okay.
Mhm.
All our defensive linemen are 340, 350, 360, 425, 415.
I get it.
You're
Yeah.
trying to get the snap off and trying to take on a guy like
And not get
Big
your
Dave
ass
that's-
whipped at the same time. I get it.
Yeah, that's
I get it.
425 pounds. That's a lot of man.
Understood. Understood, bro.
So,
Understood. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you dropping by. And, you know, we were just giving you a hard time, man, but we'll see how
always.
everything goes. And I'll talk to you here
What-
pretty soon.
what day
Are you
is-
going live tomorrow?
Yes, 3:30 live call-in show. What day is Oklahoma spring game?
Next Saturday. 22nd.
So not this Saturday, next Saturday.
Correct. The 22nd.
Okay, so I tell you what, when your offense looks garbage next week, we'll come back and talk about it.
I'm not thinking that's going to be the case, but we'll see.
Well, you hope that the defense steps up, right?
Sure, but that doesn't mean they're going to be ahead of this offense.
So if it's 56 to 7, what are you happy about that?
No. I want it to be good too. We're going to see how it goes, bro. We're going to see how it goes.
All right.
Yeah. Dakota said that he can't wait to get down to Florida and make that the new OU house. I'm not going to say that, but Dakota did. So, and then Weston said to make sure to call him Sunbelt Billy. So there we go.
Hey, got to get him somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just busting your chops.
I'll
talk to you tomorrow. I'll call in tomorrow and give you a hard time there too.
All righty.
All right, man. Later.
We'll see you. Bye.
Thank you, folks. I appreciated that. That was fun. Of course, I'm going to give F's for Fanatics a hard time. He's one of my favorite peeps. Yeah, too bad High Top wouldn't pop in. But no. Okay, so that's enough about that, though. We don't have to go any further with it. Let's talk a little bit about this. Let's go ahead and get into Peyton Pierce. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys getting in there and doing all that. Yeah, in the end, look, I think when you start thinking about Florida just a bit, right? You want them, I think as Hank said, you want them to be more consistent than what you saw. They do have a brand new quarterback again. They were missing some of that line. And if you have that kind of big boys, and I mean, you're getting that kind of press into the backfield, there's a problem on that offensive line. There's an issue there. But I would say, with as bad as they were defensively, I can see where if you're Cody, you're going to want to take that as a positive, for your Florida team. And again, man, there's time before this, the fall season gets started. We'll kind of see how all that goes and everything like that. But I'm going to go ahead and bring my boy Rich in, Chris Richardson. He's going to be joining us here on a couple of shows coming up pretty soon. But I just wanted to kind of hit with him about this whole Peyton Pierce thing to Ohio State, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit. Chris, welcome to the show, my dude.
What up?
What's up, man? How you been?
Oh, just driving through enemy territory.
Yeah, getting down there close to Austin?
No, not yet. I'm almost to TCU first. We'll swing by there. Then I'm pretty sure we'll swing right by Baylor, and I'll probably flip them the bird. Then we'll be in Austin, and then we will cut back east towards College Station. So looking forward to
just gonna see it all today, huh? We're on a tour of crap campuses, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, as I got closer to TCU, it started getting cloudy, and I really feel like that's a pretty good representation of how I feel towards those programs. So it's fitting.
Yes, understood. Yeah, I get it. No, you've probably been listening in. We were just kind of dragging on Florida a little bit after their showing last night. I don't know if you watched any of that Orange and Blue game. Man, it was funny. One of my favorite creators is the Uncle Lou show. I love that show. He's freaking hilarious. But he said Florida might have set football back 100 years. So that's how he felt about it. But
yeah, well, I just wanted to, before we get too far off of the Florida subject, he asked if we would be excited with the 56-7 showing. And, it's like we were discussing earlier. I think people forget Oklahoma's offense was absolutely not the problem last season.
Absolutely
with
not
them
the
to be
problem.
ranked inside the top 15 in total offense in the country, what do you expect when you have 122nd ranked defense? And I feel like it's kind of a sacrificial year. I mean, you
Sure.
lose and have the turnover and turmoil that you do within the program. I mean, you're gonna kind of want to sacrifice it. This is not just a new scheme, but it's also known for being one of the most complex schemes in all of college football. So, with
Absolutely.
that being said, I mean, I think it's great for those young kids to have sat back for a year. Not knocking the guys that were playing, but I feel like some of our starters were not the most talented at the position, or by far the
Right.
most athletic. We see that through some of these pro day and combine numbers, and like I said, I think it'll be beneficial long term, and it'll pay dividends for these kids to have sat a year back. The game's going to slow down a lot for them.
Right.
They're watching a lot of tape. Some of these other guys coming in, they were talking about Reggie Pearson, for example. They said that guy is a film watching guru.
Right.
And
Yeah, man.
he encourages all these other safeties to join in. What's that?
Dude, and on top of that, Pearson is a freaking animal, man. I mean, look at the hits that he was laying down throughout the entire season last year for Tech. I mean, that's something that we didn't see a ton of out in Norman. So I was excited. Go ahead.
We didn't lack depth at safety by any means. So there's a reason
definitely
that
not.
Brent Venables and company wanted to bring him in.
Yeah.
So they're not going to bring a guy in just because it looks good on paper. They're bringing a guy in that they think can contribute, especially as much time and experience as he's got. They expect him to be he's going to have a part, and I think he's going to take advantage of it. It sounds like one thing that we didn't get to see a whole lot of last year, and we were accustomed to with Brent Venables is physicality. And with Reggie Pearson coming in and the stories about Kobe McKenzie throughout spring practice just walloping guys, then you've got Josiah Wagner getting referred to by Brent Venables as a pit bull. I mean, that's I think we're
Josiah, Josiah's not the biggest cat in the world, and he's out there laying wood to dudes, man. And that's something that I saw in the All-American game.
My grandmother had a Chihuahua, and I don't know if you've ever been bit by a Chihuahua, but gosh damn, that it hurts. So for him to not be a big guy, it's what it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, it hurts worse to get bit by a pit bull, which is what they're calling Josiah. So that's good. Look, I'm excited about all this too. Let's talk a little bit about this. Go ahead, Peyton Pierce deal. Now, obviously, I think a lot of people were expecting that he was going to be an OU guy. So far, and let's preface this by saying we've got a long ways till December and National Signing Day. So, but at the moment, he is committed to Ohio State. The thing that I saw was that I really, really didn't like was the fact that Nigel Smith made a comment about that commitment, and they were, kind of going back and forth about maybe him joining as well. That being said, where do you feel like this kind of lands on the importance scale when it comes to Pierce himself? I'm under the impression and of the belief that right now, depth at the linebacker position isn't a real issue either. So, I'll toss it to you. What are you thinking on that?
Well, earlier. I lose you.
No, I can hear you.
Back?
There you go. You're back.
Okay. All right. Linebacker is actually probably what I feel like is one of their deeper positions.
It is.
When I look at reports and hear what people are saying.
Yep.
We got right now, from the sounds of it, like we were saying earlier, we got guys like Jaron Kanik and Kobe McKenzie, and then you've got Kit. They're sitting here battling each other
just to get some playing time.
The good thing about having that depth and having dogs at that position,
mm-hmm.
Well, just for the playing time, but I mean, them boys are pushing one another. That
Absolutely.
is a big deal, and that's only going to make them better. And like we discussed earlier, with Ethan Downs, we all love the kid, and he's been there. He's stuck with us. He shows up every week. He's a go-getter, and he's gonna, his job. You got Bothward coming in, and everybody's talking about how he is by far our best pass rusher. All that's gonna do is make Ethan Downs have to elevate his game, and that's not gonna hurt anybody or anything. That is a good problem to have. But linebacker, I feel like is even better because all those guys, with the exception of the guy, I don't even think Sammy Amasigo's not on campus. There's quite a few guys that aren't on campus, but most of our depth is coming from those younger guys with Kanik, McKenzie, with Lewis.
Sure.
You know,
well, and having looked at and having seen Sammy down there at the All-American game too, he's gonna make a move at that too. I think during fall camp. I mean, he's definitely too polished and just stud athlete to not garner some looks to where he's probably going to get some playing time, I think, as well too. And we talked about that. I mean, and it should be that way. If you're bringing in a bunch of guys and you ranked in the 120s in total defense last season, you probably should be getting some looks from some of these young guys to be able to get some playing time. It's great. Some of these guys that are coming in, as far as, when you start thinking about the transfer portal, and yes, from Bothroyd, I keep hearing the same thing about him. That dude is an absolute dog. You could see that when he was at Wake Forest. He is a game record type of guy. So I'm excited about that. You keep hearing great things about Deshaun McCullough. You keep hearing really good things about, obviously, Makari Vickers, Josiah Wagner in the secondary. But this linebacker core, I think, if losing Pearson, and it's not something that you want to see, obviously you'd like to get them all. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up to make sure is you're not going to see Oklahoma get every player. It's just not going to happen. Right. And some of these guys might be, particularly at the linebacker position, you can start looking at, you think that they don't realize that there's depth there? If you're a guy like Peyton Pearson, you're seeing the guys that are there, the guys that will be there in the fall, and that you're going to be coming in there behind them. Look, Ohio State's defense was trash, last year.
You asked just to kind of corral it back to, what you had asked about my views on, missing out on Pierce and, how that's looking. Just like I said earlier, so, he wasn't necessarily ranked the highest, but, he's a kid that, of course, we wanted. He had some good physical attributes. He seems like a smart kid. I'm sure he'd be able to come in and he could mold himself a pretty good spot on the team and contribute at an early stage in his career, I think. But with that being said, like you said, it's still early, and we're not completely out. I don't think the coaches are just going to stop recruiting the kid.
I don't either.
To Ohio State.
Right. And I agree with you on that. But what I was getting at is that when you have the depth that we're starting to build up there, and if you've already got some, you were talking about, what's going to happen between Kanik and Kobe. Kobe's already kind of building out, or he looks like he's already working himself into that thought process of being able to get a lot of playing time at that position. And I know a lot of people were hoping that Jaren Kanik is going to be in there a lot more this season. But to me, and this is something that I said to you off air, but hey, I think every position is open. When you start looking at what they did last year, you can't. Every position on that defense is open, right?
Oh, 100%. And that's something as fans that we need to welcome and encourage. Like I said, the Kanik story and him kind of going the whole Baker Mayfield route and just showing up because he wanted to play for Venables. Just because he might not necessarily end up winning that starting spot at that position, the Mike Backer, that doesn't mean that he's not going to get playing time. Because another good problem to have with that depth, you can rest these guys. You can sit them for a series and let them kind of get their feet back under them and then toss them back in there, or even if it's a quarter and then just give it a different look. And that's going to confuse offenses too. So again, all these guys are I think they're great athletes. I trust Brent Venables and what he wants in his defense, what he looks for. And like you're saying, you asked about the depth, and, we do have a ton of depth. And not only do we have a lot of depth, we have youth on our side. All these
youth. That was the other part of it.
I mean, we're talking what? They're going to be sophomores, redshirt freshmen.
That's right.
Redshirt freshmen coming in. I mean, there's 6 or 7. Well, you even look at Deshaun McCullough. He'll be a true sophomore. And yes, they're wanting to play him at Cheetah, but he was a linebacker. He's a freshman All-American at the linebacker position. So that's another guy I think that he's going to be pushing.
Hey, listen.
Again, he chose Oklahoma for a reason, and Oklahoma wanted him for a reason. So Witter.
Absolutely. Oh, looks like we lost him. He was on a rhythm there too. That's cool. We're going to get him back in here before too long anyway. So will continue on. But as I was saying, then this is what I was kind of talking about more than anything else, is that when you start looking at kind of what's happening here, you can kind of understand why a guy like this might choose Ohio State, right? Because when you start thinking about it, they weren't very good on defense. And they're trying to rework the whole thing. And if you look at what's going on, and don't think for 1 second that Pierce didn't look across there and see, okay, well, yeah, if we all know that the linebackers are one of those deep groups that you expect to do very well, maybe you don't come in and get a lot of playing time right away. Maybe you don't. So that's something you got to kind of take a look at as well. And so he might have a better opportunity to play right away at Ohio State. Then again, and it's still not out. Just like Chris was just saying, you're not definitely out on this guy anyway. With the way things are and the way that this staff recruits, flipping him is not even out of the picture. My concern would be this: seeing the tweet that Nigel Smith made talking about them being a possible big time tandem together, playing there at Ohio State. That would be my concern. And if I'm Oklahoma, I'm not as worried. First off, you still have what appears to be, and let's just make sure that we say that it appears to be the inside track on Sammy Brown, right? Now, whether or not that happens, it still remains to be seen. But if you're going to go through and get that guy, then great. You know what I mean? That's awesome. My question would be, and definitely you want to make sure that you continue to make that big push towards getting him. My bigger, more important thing, in my opinion, would be go get Nigel Smith. Don't let a lot of this talk get out of hand there. Make sure that he knows that you want him. Right now, to me, it looks like that defensive line, there's a possibility that you could get 3 5-star defensive tackles, which is what Oklahoma really needed coming into this cycle as it is. I know you've got some transfer help that was greatly needed as well, so that you have time to kind of, continue to recruit that position and also develop some talent there. But my thought is I want Nigel Smith. Za'Davian Sims, I want to see him come in too as well, Weston. But what I would tell you is I really want to see these guys get Nigel Smith. I think he might be the best athlete out of everybody they're looking at that position. And that's just my opinion on it. Maybe you guys, obviously you want to see David Stone. I think that it seems to me like Williams Nwaneri is already, seems to be a lock there. I hate to call anybody a lock, but everybody's got their crystal ball in for him, including Wilt Fong. So that's one of those things that I suspect is going to be, I still feel like he's going to be there. I also feel like Stoney that both of those guys have tried to commit to the Sooners more than once. They're going to continue taking their and they're not going to want them to if they're going to continue taking visits. So they've been, telling them don't make the commitment just yet unless you're done traveling. And you should go ahead and make those trips, When it comes to Stoney, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, he keeps on saying stuff on. It seems to me like he likes to poke the bear a little bit, and he probably knows how Oklahoma Twitter folks are. So it seems like he's poking the bear a little bit there, and I think that's funny. I think that people on Twitter should relax a bit when it comes to that kind of stuff. It certainly doesn't help when you start tweeting bad crap at these kids as it is. So, but I think that may be part of it. The other part I would say is, yes, Nigel Smith is about 6'6". He's a really, really good basketball player. Man, this dude is, I think he's the guy. I really think that, I know that, and a lot of people are going to say Za'Davian over him. And there's a possibility that you end up with him too. I think that there is. My guess is that they, at minimum, get 2 5-star defensive tackles here. And I would rather, I want to see Nigel Smith be one of them. He spent an awful lot of time at Oklahoma. I think it's a possibility that he's going to go there anyway. And, listen, they're going to think out loud a little bit. They're kids. They're going to think out loud on Twitter, and there's going to be a lot of talk back and forth. But that's my feeling on it. I'm not so much as worried about the linebacker position in Peyton Pierce as I am saying, hey, get out there, get these defensive linemen, which is what everybody's been talking about for the whole season. That's the biggest area of need. And I feel like if you go and get those guys, you get a guy like Nigel, you get a guy, you bring in one area, you bring in Stoney. Oh, that's going to get real good real quick. And I feel like you can't. I mean, they've already done pretty well with. I keep hearing that Champ Sanders is looking amazing in spring camp. So, hey, let's check it out and see. But my feeling is that I want to see them cut that crap talk about him joining Peyton Pierce at Ohio State. Let's cut that one. I'm more interested in that than I'm worried about whether or not Peyton Pierce signed with Ohio State over Oklahoma. And again, I'm not one of those people that thinks that we got to worry about every guy that doesn't commit to OU. I just don't. I think that when they don't, and with what they're talking about, they're not promising them bags of cash or any of that kind of crap. If they're not committing to OU, and then maybe they're not a fit. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. They're still making – I do believe that they're having – this is a relationship building process on the OU staff's part. And so even if you come in second right off the bat or, where you're moving forward, doesn't mean that you don't get them back. Even if he goes to Ohio State, doesn't feel like he gets into their rhythm or doesn't get crack into their lineup right away and decides to transfer, that relationship could pay off later on, right? I don't know. Anyway, just let's see that position I'm wondering about. I know what he's talking about. Special teams lost a lot there. Yeah. You know what? We'll get into that here over the next week or so. I got to be honest with you, I hadn't dug into that a ton. I'll take a look at that. Hoping that I'm going to be out there for the spring game this next week. So we'll get into that and we'll get to see a lot of that as well. I want to get my eyes on a lot of this stuff as it is. But there is some stuff going on. So we're, kind of looking at that, seeing whether I'm going to be able to do that or not. But let's see how that goes. But I definitely want to see how the special teams is doing as well. I was reminded by, a couple of the guys in the comment section over the Lincoln Riley videos that they didn't even practice it, but about 30 minutes a week. And there was no special teams coordinator or anything like that. I'd forgotten all about that, which is kind of a weird thing. And what a mess that was, my guess is that it's going to be improved upon because they don't really leave any stones unturned when it comes to that kind of stuff. And Venables and his staff. So I believe it's going to get better. Let's see. But again, tell me what you guys think about that. I mean, am I on the right track here that we need to be more worried about that defensive line position than we are about linebackers, especially in view of the fact that you've got a guy. I mean, as Chris was saying, when you look at Deshaun McCullough, he's a true sophomore, and he was a freshman All-American as a linebacker. I know a lot of people got him slotted in to be the cheetah, but I also feel like there's some other guys that can play that position as well. He's definitely going to be there. Kanak, big expectations there, though. And then you've got McKenzie. And then, obviously, with Danny Stutzman, he looked better and better the entire, with the entire time, the entire second half of the season, I think, in 2022. So you continue to expect big things out of them. I think you're building some depth there. I'm not as worried about that as I would be some of that other stuff. So, I'm pretty excited about that. Secondary is looking like it's getting a lot better, a lot quicker too. You have some experience coming back there as well. And then something that Chris didn't get to, but I know he was wanting to talk about was the fact that Peyton Bowen could very well be generational talent. I've heard people talking about him in the same breath as a guy like Roy Williams. Now, it's a little early to talk like that for me, but man, if you even approach Roy, whoa, we're talking about a college football Hall of Famer. So that's big. Okay. Now, spring tickets are on sale. So that's good. Yeah, let's get it. Oh, if I'm not, But if you miss on a top recruit, you got to be able to land a 4-star like Marcus Steele, who went to TCU. Yeah, Weston, I'm not worried about Coach Bates, man. Todd Bates was the recruiter of the year in 2020. He has yet to, well, first off, he's never coached a defensive lineman that wasn't first team all conference at some point in their career with him. Not one time. Okay. He sent 3 defensive linemen in the first round in 2020. And they are starting, and you got to remember that Oklahoma hasn't even been in the room with these 5-star type guys ever for a long time, right? Who's the last major defensive tackle guy that you can remember? Gerald McCoy? You know, that's a long time ago. He's already retired from the NFL, and he's probably a Hall of Famer. You know, in my opinion, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. It's been that long since you've really had anybody like that. So this is new to, this is new to the country, these guys being here. I believe that Bates is going to do what he's going to and I believe that they're going to get better on the field, but you got to get better. They had to get better in the weight room. They had to get better through the portal to be able to kind of build this thing out. There was no push there, and that had nothing to do with coaching. They just all of a sudden forgot how to coach it. I don't think so, right? The bottom line is as we were talking about before in the last few weeks, or last week, especially when we were talking about, and even on Tuesday, there was a certified yoga instructor as the strength and conditioning coach for the better part of Lincoln Riley's time in Oklahoma. Okay. They're getting bigger, they're getting stronger, and they're going to do better at that position. Todd Bates knows how to recruit this. They're going to, and I mean, look, we just talked about, I feel like they're probably going to get minimum 2 and maybe 3 5-star defensive tackles this year. I'm not too worried about that. I'm really not. And I know that, the guy didn't forget how to recruit either. Sometimes you're going to lose to guys like Larry Johnson. That dude's the godfather of defensive line coaches in the country. Sometimes you're going to lose to Georgia. Sometimes you're going to lose to Alabama. Some of these defensive players, because they've been playing defense a little longer there in those places, That's just how I feel about it. So I'm not too concerned about that. I understand your concern. I know that there's a lot of alarm bells that went up last year, but man, you got to remember that, again, as bad as they were on defense, they still picked up 4 top 100 defensive players in their second recruiting class. It's going to get better. And if they have better results this season, which I suspect that Oklahoma should, it's probably going to help on the recruiting trail as well. But I do feel like one of those things is that I don't think that, especially now, is not the time to get too concerned about recruiting, because again, you got 8 months until National Signing Day. 8. A lot of things are going to happen in between now and then, right? If Ryan Day doesn't get it together, the chances are Ohio State is going to get rid of his ass. And even though he went to the playoff this past year, they kind of backed into it, right? They haven't done anything defensively since he took over as head coach. They're not excited about him. And not winning and getting there is kind of the same as how it feels at Oklahoma, not, getting to that playoff and not winning a game. They don't care about it. They're still going to give you a hard time. Nobody's sitting over there talking about, that he's the best coach in the country. And again, I've already told you what I feel about him, but I do think that you're going to start, you just don't know what could happen in between now and 8 months from now when your first signing day rolls around. I do feel like they're in great shape to pick up some big commitments. June and July was the time when they started picking them up last year. That's when you're going to probably start seeing some of these commits happen anyway this season as well. And then I would also say that, hey, the transfer portal is about to open back up as well. And you're probably going to see some more additions coming on that side. So there's really no telling what's going to happen in between now and December. So let's not get too crazy about it. You know, let's not get too crazy about it. My thoughts are, I want to see them get. My favorite guy is Nigel Smith. I think that he's a 5-star waiting to happen. Athletically, he's gifted in a lot of ways. Watch him go dunk a basketball. Watch this dude dunk a basketball and tell me he's not a freaking animal. Whoa. I'm excited about that. I don't want to see him at Ohio State. Not at all. Because I feel like that's a team that you probably could see in the college football playoff here over the next 3 or 4 years if you're Oklahoma, you know. And I would not want to have Nigel Smith breathing down an Oklahoma quarterback's neck. Just wouldn't want to do it. So I'm hoping that happens. And I would agree with this. Yes, they get that winning record. They show significant improvement. It is going to help because they were already an elite recruiting, staff as it was when they were at Clemson. So I don't think that, again, that doesn't go away. It does not go away. I would say that they want to get, really kind of double down their efforts on Sammy Brown. I don't think that they give up talking to Peyton Pierce at all. And I would say that he's probably going to be around the campus and kind of see some more stuff. And from what you hear, he really loved all his visits to OU. So I don't think you're necessarily out on him either, right? I feel like that. I mean, Brent Venables is one of the best there is at coaching linebackers. So I don't think he's out on anybody, again, especially with 8 months going. Now, guys, if you haven't already hit that like button and let's take a look at it. We have 20 people in here and I've got 7 likes. Is there something you guys ain't liking? Why are we hitting that like button? Please, please, please do that. That is a free way to make sure that this channel is able to continue giving you content week after week. And if we're going to move forward, we've got to do better number-wise, both in views and, and generating a little cash. So I hope that everybody is taking a look at podcast merchandise. And definitely, if you want to make your voice heard, make sure you hit that super chat button. Toss a couple of bucks in here for us. Let us make sure that we hear it. There's a few every time we get done with the stream, I noticed that there's something that I missed that somebody said that I really wish that I would have seen it during the show. So to make sure that you get your voice heard in this show, make sure that you hit that super chat. Throw a couple of bucks in there. I'll make sure I see it then. Who's this corner in the house? What's up, bro? How you doing? But yeah, if you can help out with that, that'd be great. Obviously, we have the Fanatic store as well. Up to 65% off everything in the store just by using our link. It is right there at the bottom left of your screen. Of course, the podcast merchandise above on this side here. You can always check that out. And hey, check it all out over there too, because we've got the new seatbelt gear in there. Tell me, guys, let me know what you guys think about that design. I've been excited about Makari Vickers, so I wanted to throw some seatbelt gear out there, kind of see what's going to happen. And I think his folks liked it so far. So I hadn't gotten to talk to Makari or anything like that, but his folks like it. So we'll kind of see what's up on that. Yeah. What's up, Kuz? How you been, man? Glad to see you in here. Been a lot of crazy stuff going on. Yeah, like the man's video. Thank you. For up to 13, it helped. I said something, we got 6. So come on, we're at 22 viewers. We still only got 13 likes. So we got, help us out here. If you don't like it, let me know what you're missing or what to hit the like button. Okay, I'll make sure I do it. And definitely, as we talked about, I'm going to start doing more lives as we move along. Definitely the season's getting closer and closer, which, man, how exciting is that, man? We are just about 2 months away from football, from real football, bro. I'm excited. Thanks, Dakota. Appreciate you jumping in there and doing that. I'm excited about that. Now, let's get into some of this. And as a matter of fact, Kuz, I don't know how busy you are right now or how long you can be here, but I would love to hear your opinion about some of this stuff when it comes to realignment and stuff like that. This obviously you're one of the I feel like you're one of the authorities when it comes to realignment. So if you have anything to add to some of this stuff, feel free to jump in to the stream. There is the link right there if you want to jump in and talk a little bit about this. There's a lot of rumors out there, obviously, right now that Colorado is about to make the move back to the Big 12. I've heard 5-hour meetings being talked about. I have heard that, well, let's see, you've heard stuff from, and guys like, people that you can trust, like Stuart Mandel, the Athletic, things like that. Oh, there's Koozie. Yeah, we'll let him in. Coos.
What's up? Am I in?
What's up, bro? Let me turn that.
It says I am.
Yeah, you are. It's just it's probably me. There he is. There's
probably better you leave me. It's probably better you leave me down at the bottom where I was, man.
You are pretty ugly, bro.
Hey, this head will blind you, bud. So I know you.
No, I'm with you, man. Hey, so I was just getting into it, but obviously there's a lot of smoke up right now about obviously this whole realignment deal, and it looks like Colorado is maybe very, very close to making the move before they've even heard, according to Stuart Mandel, before they even hear what the media deal for the Pac-12 is going to be. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, same thing you are, man. I was talking to Jason Shear today. I actually had him on my basketball channel. For those of you who don't know, Jason covers Wildcat Authority.
Yep.
Covers Arizona for Wildcat Authority and has been really on top of this realignment stuff. But anyway, he thinks it's about 50-50 right now, one way or the other. He's leaning toward the Pac-12 staying together. But it's all going to depend on that deal.
I thought he was like against them. I thought the last I'd heard from him, he was like, it's dead.
No, he doesn't think it's dead. He gets accused of that a lot because he reports what he hears and people think he's got an agenda.
Right.
But his team's in the Pac-12, so why would he want it to die?
I get that.
But anyway, he's leaning towards it staying together, but he knows there is it is, the smoke is real.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fake.
Right.
Some people in the conference are unhappy, but at the end of the day, deep down, they want to stay together because.
I don't doubt that. I don't even doubt that necessarily. As far as Colorado's concerned, I think that that's very real on a lot of levels. One thing is that you haven't heard a ton coming out of last year. Remember, Colorado was being kind of Utah-ish, if you want to put it that way, where they were being real nose in the air. No, we wouldn't come back to that conference, blah, 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 blah. I haven't heard a lot of that. And I think a lot of that has to do with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders and his presence there. If you're Colorado, you did not make that hire to try to pull yourself out of the doldrums of even the Pac-12, for freaking Christ's sake. You didn't do that for him to go to a mostly streaming deal, which is what it's even looking like. I mean, there was thoughts about the CW had already pulled out in the CW. I mean, we're talking about, Gossip Girl and stuff like that. Whenever it comes to their programming, that being something that would be carrying or maybe getting a deal with the Pac-12. I know the deal's not dead. I've heard that it may not be very much alive though either.
Right.
Nobody is okay with a majority streaming, and it doesn't even sound like 50-50 streaming is something that a lot of these presidents and chancellors would agree to, particularly if you're Oregon, Washington, those kind of schools. To me, the biggest thing that I see is this, and I've been saying this a lot. Number one, I don't care about the AAU. None of that matters to me. I think that that's a stupid narrative, that nobody's going to lose their research dollars because they go play football in the Big 12. That's stupid, right? Now, what I'm going to tell you is that no matter what, they're not, even if they get a deal, let's say that they get a deal that they can agree on, which is that's no gimme. But let's say they get a deal that they can all agree on, because it takes all of them to agree.
Mm-hmm.
What they're not going to do, if you're Oregon and Washington, do you sign a grant of rights? Because I'm going to tell you, hell no, you don't. They've already got one foot out the door. And if you know that in your Arizona and your Arizona State and your Utah, which what the hell's going on with them, I have no idea. But your Colorado as well, you know that they've got one foot out the door and they're not going to sign a grant of rights. What the hell do you have to wait around for? You know?
I think my take on that is this, and this is, I have no source on this. This is just my gut.
Right.
I
there's a
think
lot of that was what I'm saying from just what I'm
Yeah.
reading the tea leaves at, you know?
I think that it depends on the length of the deal. I don't think that Oregon and Washington is going to want to sign a long-term deal.
Right.
If they come back with a 3-year, maybe 5-year max deal, they might be willing to sign it.
Mhm.
A grant of rights for that, because that still gives them an opening, you know, in 3 to 5 years to go to the Big Ten. And I think too, a lot of it, keep in mind, the Big Ten's getting a new commissioner, and a lot of it can hinge on how aggressive he wants to be.
Well, and that was one of the things that I was going to bring up is the fact that this is a guy, it's another non-traditional conference commissioner guy. He didn't go up through the athletic director ranks, university ranks, stuff like that. This is a guy that was in Major League Baseball, has been in television, you know, knows and understands what it means to, you know, to continue doing that. I think that he probably pushes the Big Ten to make that move and go ahead and, because here's the thing, if you're USC and UCLA, they might be able to deal with this for a year or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and it's one thing if we're just talking football, but you're talking about every sports program is going to be spending all their time in the Midwest. That's their closest move. It's going to be very similar to what you guys deal with at West Virginia.
Right.
1,500 miles is the closest destination for these guys.
Yeah, it's actually worse than us, honestly.
Right. So, I mean, you look at Nebraska, that's and it's one thing for the football team to deal with it, or even the football and the basketball team to deal with it. But when you start looking at the wear and tear that your overall athletic program is going to take, if you're USC and UCLA, I think you want to get at least 2 more schools from the West Coast in your conference now, right?
You'd think so, Jason, but I've also heard rumors that USC doesn't want Oregon in the conference.
I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Because
Oregon wise, I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Because for obvious reasons, they don't want to recruit against them.
Right.
But now, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But I mean, that is one way to look at it.
I'm just, and it's not like that's a really close trip for those guys either. I mean, all the way up the coastline from Southern California to Washington to Oregon. It's not like it's a freaking hop and a skip.
It's
you know
not.
what I mean? It's
Correct.
not.
Great
But
point.
that being said, now, but you could also see Cal and Stanford. I think that they're also one of those. Are they going to sign a grant of rights? I don't think that they really care about the whole deal. That I know that they're holding up the San Diego State deal. I know that Stanford's holding that up.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. I just think that because San Diego State, you know, when you start talking about their academics and stuff like that, again, I don't buy the academic horse crap that we've been talking about when it comes to this AAU stuff versus not. You hear guys like Monty saying stupid stuff.
I actually do, believe it or not.
What do you mean?
I think it's ridiculous.
Yes.
But I do think there's a lot of schools in the Pac-12.
Yeah, because they've been fed that stuff is what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's not an actual thing like they're telling all these guys, but I do believe that it's an issue when it comes to some of these schools buying into that stuff.
I got
right?
you. Yeah. Okay.
What I would tell you is that just because, I mean, their AAU status is not tied to your football program. It's not tied to your athletic program at all. They're not moving the University of Utah to downtown Dallas. You know, they're not doing that. So that's my thoughts on that. And so I feel like that's one of those deals that George Kliavkoff has been throwing propaganda through Wilner and Canzano and anybody else who wants to listen out there for, you know, if you watch John Kurtz all the time, that guy's forever just beating the crap out of Wilner and Canzano.
Yeah.
And by the way, he should be, you know, I don't know how you keep as a journalist myself for as long as I have, I don't know how you keep your credibility intact if you, at the end of this whole deal, because
Yeah.
It's clear that a lot of the stuff they're saying is just nothing but propaganda machine coming from George Kliavkoff, who's been in hiding, it seems like. They just lost their number 2 in the Pac-12 as far as, leadership is concerned as well. I don't know, man. I think that this smoke is definitely, I mean, when you start talking about guys like Stuart Mandel, from the Athletic saying that he's been saying that it could definitely go as far as Colorado's concerned. I only think it's going to take one or two moves for this thing to tip in that direction.
Agreed.
And if you get Arizona, and I think that Arizona has a reason to want to be that program too, to leave, because of the fact that basketball is their thing.
Yep.
And you can make sure that you're in a conference that's going to get paid for basketball moving forward, because this is how Yormark plans to keep up with the SEC and the Big Ten. He knows that football-wise, you're not going to probably do that. But if he can continue to pump basketball, and you've got amazing programs, amazing coaches already, and you're adding Houston, who's been, they were a number 1 seed going into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They're adding, if they add Arizona, it seems to be writing on the walls, Gonzaga's on the way, for basketball. Now you get Arizona. Utah used to be a amazing basketball school when Rick Majerus was there. I know you remember
those days.
That. Yeah. They haven't been great lately, but that doesn't mean they can't be again. And even Arizona State, you got Bobby Hurley. They've been doing good things. They've been doing a lot better. I think they finished 3rd in the Pac-12 this year. So they're getting better as it is. And then, of course, you continue. You still have Baylor. You still have Kansas. Kansas State is the real deal now. I would say Huggy Bear in West Virginia, they're not going anywhere. It's a real deal conference when it comes to that. So if you're Arizona, why do you not want to make that move? I don't see how you wouldn't. And all it's going to take, I think, is that 1 or 2 dominoes to fall, and this thing's over with. That's just my feeling.
The Arizona president made his feelings known. I mean, the Pac-12 propaganda machine said, well, he doesn't want to go to the Big 12, but they left out the part where he said, oh, by the way, it wouldn't be a big deal to drive to Lubbock, Texas. And oh, by the way,
sure didn't.
I won't accept more than 50% streaming. So, I mean,
and I don't think that there's any choice in that at this point, is there? I mean, I don't see a way that you go unless you find a deal with ION or CW, but CW has 14 hours of prime time right now. You're looking at 4-hour football games. I mean, you're going to add to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now I know they got good coverage, but are you going to how good is that going to be?
Yeah. And they're saying now that I saw Iran and John Iran and his partner, Marshawn. Yeah. Marshawn came out and said that the CW thing was actually just one individual conversation.
Right.
And they never even got into negotiations. And that it's not going to happen. So that was blown way out of proportion.
I've seen a lot of that too, that may be dead, right?
Yeah.
That might not even be a thing. ION, I think that there's been a lot of BS on that side of it too, even though a lot of it did come from guys that I kind of trust in, that there was conversations about that. That could also be stuff getting leaked around and it gets to the right person. Maybe there was something, maybe there wasn't. Maybe there was a conversation had there, maybe there was. But in its Scripps, so it's not exactly like ION is owned by Scripps, which is a major programming company. You could see that possibly happening. But again, how easy is it going to be for you to let people know or make people remember that they need to go and find you after MASH reruns? I have a hard time with that. And none of this looks as good. And no matter what, even if they do it and they pull this off, is there any way that it looks as good as the deal that you have at the Big 12 right now? Particularly when the strength is, building. I mean, they're going to have 12 schools. It looks like they're going to have a minimum of 14 by the time it's all over with. Even if you don't get any additions from the Pac-12, they're going to have probably 14. Then what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're struggling to get one. And if you're San Diego State and you were just in the Final Four, I don't know why I think that they're thinking that the Pac-12 is going to be what the Pac-12 was, and I don't think it's anything close to that. If you were San Diego State and wishing that you were in that conference for all these years, I don't think you should be wishing for that anymore. I just don't.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'm them. I'm wanting to go to the Big 12.
Absolutely. Again, another basketball powerhouse, right? Plus, their football program is pretty good too. So if you're gonna get one of these, guys that's if one of these schools that isn't gonna be guaranteed to get any kind of money, I would think it's got to be somebody like that. Fresno State is not somebody that I would have on my radar if I'm the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Boise isn't somebody I would necessarily have on my radar if I'm the Big 12. I would definitely have Gonzaga. I would definitely have San Diego State, right? You want to add those kind of programs because we're talking about basketball and football, not with Gonzaga, but football wise, when you start looking at that, this is going to help you in the long run. And again, we talked about this before. I know that you don't want to give up a whole lot of money to start with, but if you're investing in your future, if you're West Virginia, if you're Oklahoma State, Baylor, all these guys, you got to look at the future because staying alive is the most important thing. And right now, I mean, that's all there is with conference realignment.
That's very true, man. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it, but you know what? These presidents are getting paid, millions of dollars to make these decisions.
Sure.
And if they thought it was the best move for their schools, and or if they didn't think it was the best move for the school, they wouldn't have done it. So,
yeah, no doubt, man. Hey, yeah. So yeah, again, I just wanted to jump in on that. I know that you do a lot of stuff, and I love your coverage of this stuff.
Thank you.
You've been on top of that a lot, obviously, Kuz, and so definitely enjoy your input on this. I don't think it's obviously a done deal. The whole thing that you were talking about with Jason Steele, that kind of gives me a little bit of pause. Again, I just feel like they want what they want and what's going to happen. It's kind of like the whole deal with fans. You know what I mean? You're going to get what the reality is, and you can't. If you really want your program to stay relevant at all, if you're Oregon and Washington, I don't see how you can go with the streaming deal. I just don't see how you can do it. Even if the money's right, which I haven't heard that it is.
Well, I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to hit I don't think they're going to hit the $31.6 million that the Big 12 is getting, but I think they're going to be. I think what will happen at the end of the day, they will probably end up getting around 25, 26 million.
That's where I was at.
Yeah. Ballpark, and we'll get about 50% streaming, maybe.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, you know what, this is not what we wanted, but we're going to have to suck it up and take it. I think that's what's going to happen. But I could be wrong, and those guys, some of those schools might say, you know what, this isn't acceptable. And we're going to the Big 12. That could happen.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like if the money's not right and the streaming is going to be a major part of it, how can that be palatable for everybody? And remember, you have to have all 10 of them sign off on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a majority rules kind of deal. It's not. So if one says no, it's over. And I don't think that Washington and Oregon say yes to that. In fact, I'm right sure of it. I don't think that they even come close to saying yes to any kind of grant of rights deal because they're not going to get stuck in a situation where if they come along and this new commissioner comes along from the Big Ten and says, hey, yeah, we want to go ahead and make this happen, they don't want to have to wait. I don't see it. Yeah. So, I just feel like this one of those deals. And, yes, they're going to watch them even less. And it's already the least amount in the country, right? Yeah. Steele, that's the thing.
It's my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it already is. Listen, the biggest game, the most views of regular season football for the Pac-12, it only equaled up to TCU Baylor last year.
Yeah.
It didn't come close to any of the other ones. So
and what if you're Coach Prime and you're trying to recruit? And you've got over half of your games are on a streaming service. You don't think teams are going to use that against you?
Exactly. No, exactly. And he's proven that he can recruit doing things the way they do it because they do a lot of streaming stuff. They have their own little media company that they got going on.
Right.
But And the other thing that I would tell you is he's got a home in Dallas. He's been living in Dallas for the better part of his adult life.
Yeah.
Is particularly since he played there.
Yep.
So he
coached high school football there.
High school football there. Yeah. So you're looking at a situation where this is a recruiting channel that you need to open if you're Colorado.
I think so. And I mean, I've heard rumors, and it's strictly rumors, but I've heard rumors that he's been pushing for.
Yeah. Well, Mandel said it. Mandel said the same thing. He said that that he believes that there are people within like the board that are pushing for that move back to the Big 12, but he only thinks that one voice matters, and that voice is Coach Prime, who is definitely talking like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that all came from Stuart Mandel. I mean, I think that, again, I trust guys like him. I trust guys like Dennis Dodd, Pete Thamel, a lot more than Canzano and Wilner now. And I certainly don't trust anything coming out of the Monty show.
Yeah. Wilner's not too bad, but Canzano's, man, he's
full of crap, dude. And he calls his show the Bald-Faced Truth. What?
Yeah. Yeah, he's done a couple of things that I think are unprofessional, like
completely unprofessional.
He tweeted out the hashtag Big 12 Anon thing and all that stuff. And I mean, if you're a professional journalist, I don't think you need to get into that kind of.
I agree with you, but I've also seen the same thing from Wilner. I mean, so one night I was looking way late, but I saw something where, and I think Steele was in on this one too, where there was somebody from Arizona was talking about that they wanted to see them go ahead and make this move, right? And this was right after their president had been interviewed by The Athletic and all that stuff. But he was like, he came on there and was like, well, why would you want your center of gravity to be in the Big 12? And he brought up the academics and stuff like that. And I'm going, dude, really? You're going to sit there and act like this is real, what they're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you can sit there and report your opinion, I mean, it's great to have an opinion. I'm fine with that. I don't care. I've got an opinion. But the truth of it is that when you start spreading that like that even matters whatsoever, and they've got all these fans believing it, I mean, Utah, I feel like may have already talked themselves out of an invitation. You heard Yormark during the Big 12 Big 12 tournament saying that now they're looking at culture fits, quote unquote, for who they're going to invite from the Pac-12. Shut up, Utah, if you want to not be in the Mountain West, because that's what you're looking at. And so that's how I feel about that part of it. But to me, I think that it's when it comes to even Wilner, you've seen some things that he said, and particularly in just kind of floating that propaganda out there on Twitter and other places like that. And even kind of challenging other reporters, other journalists that are in what they're saying, that I don't think that is unprofessional. If you don't know that what you're saying is right, and you're going to challenge another guy and challenge his integrity based on bullshit
and accuse him of being part of a conspiracy,
right? Yeah, it's. Golly,
I've never seen anything like it in my life.
I've never seen anything like it either, man. I've been doing this for a long time.
He said the same thing. He's never seen anything like it in his career.
I've been a journalist for the better part of 20 years, man. I've never seen anything like it. Generally speaking, you talk to those guys, you ask what they believe and what they're hearing. If you're on opposite ends of the world or ends of the spectrum or whatever, because you want to make sure you are out in front of the truth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't, and first and foremost, first thing you always look at when you're looking at sources, to me, is, okay, what does he have to gain by saying this versus this, right? And when you talk about George Kliavkoff, obviously you got to question what he's saying, because he's talking about the survival of the league. Do I necessarily blame him for like doing the best he can to keep it alive? No, I don't. Right. But I think that where he got lapped, and I've said this a bunch of times, look, man, you screwed up, because if you were really good at what you were doing, you would have convinced USC, UCLA, all of the Pac-12 presidents and chancellors that we need to kill the rest of the Big 12 when Oklahoma and Texas decided they were going to the SEC. They all turned their noses up at it. In particular, USC and UCLA did. And you weren't able to talk them into that. Hey, this is about survival. We need to get out in front of this before they get bigger at the Big Ten, before the SEC gets bigger. Look how long it took Kevin Warren to make, we'll get you. We'll take you for USC and UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Look how long it took him with his little handshake deal and everything. So that was a big mistake on the part of Kliavkoff. Then it was another big mistake to sit there and instead of being pissed at the Big Ten when all that went down, he starts lobbing grenades. He's saying he's having to battle against grenades from the corners of the Big 12. Why aren't you attacking the Big 10?
Absolutely. They're the ones they're the ones that stabbed you in the back.
That's right. That's right. You know, and you're attacking the Big 12 right off the bat. But I think, and that may have been his biggest mistake because, bro, you're in over your head when it comes to Brett Yormark. The dude's lapped you time and time again since he got here. And he's been on the job for what, 10 months?
Oh, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Golly. And it's night and day difference from Bob Bowlesby.
And he's doing stuff that nobody else is doing. Yeah. Like the pro day thing on the NFL Network.
Dude, yeah.
That's I don't know if people understand how big that is. I mean, I did, or how big it could be. I don't know that we know for sure, but
yeah, I mean, I think if you're one of those blue blood football programs, you don't need that. But you are now bereft of those blue blood football programs right now.
Yep.
You know, moving forward. So you got to find a way to get in front of that and show that. And if you're him, you started noticing how you were getting a lot of talk about all these Big 12 quarterbacks that were playing in the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. And how the Big 12 was the quarterback league and all that stuff during the NFL playoffs. Where do you think that came from?
Oh, exactly. I'm telling you, it
was smart. It was smart marketing on the part of Brett Yormark. You never would have heard that kind of crap coming out of Bob Bowlesby. You know, you just wouldn't have. You know, that guy was.
He surrounded himself with good people as well. You know,
bro. I think, again, it's just one of those things where I feel like they hit a home run with this dude. Had they done this 5 years ago and found a way to get him involved 5 years ago, you probably don't see Oklahoma and Texas leaving. You may have, had it been 10 years ago, you don't see a lot of these other programs leaving the Big 12. You know, now that could change everything. But again, none of that's going to matter now. But I think that if you're moving forward, I think there's a reason why the Big Ten went the direction that they went. You know, the ACC was worried about losing Tim Phillips to the Big Ten. I don't think that there was a chance in hell that they were losing. Now that you look at who they hired, so they re-upped him. I don't think there was a chance in hell that was the direction they were going. I think you look down there at the Big 12 and be like, man, they went from dead to in the catbird seat. I think you needed to make that move.
I agree.
You know? So, yeah, anyway, man, thanks for joining. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
glad I was finally able to do it this time.
Yeah, no worries, man. I was just glad you popped in there. When I saw you, I was like, shoot, I'll get his opinion on this.
Sorry, I can't be in the studio, but you know,
no worries.
We make it work. We make it work, right?
Yes, we do. Anytime. Let me know anytime you want me to hop on. I'll be happy to come on your show too, man.
So we need to do that one day, man.
Absolutely. Sounds
Take
good,
care.
Bud. All right, buddy. We'll see you later.
See you.
Let's talk about Gerald McCoy. Yes. I love this part. Hey, officially retired today. I think everybody knew he was gone, but that's a good thing. That for me, I know there's been a lot of talk about whether or not he's a Hall of Famer or not. To make it clear, he is. Gerald McCoy, unreal. We'll get into more of this moving forward because of the fact that this came out. I really wasn't prepared to talk a whole lot about it, but I do have some stats that I can get into that shows why he's a Hall of Famer. So we'll definitely get into that. But I definitely agree that that he should be in the recruiting department, as Steele is telling us. Welcome to the show, by the way, Steele. I'm glad you're here. I definitely agree that he should be there. He's obviously been making a big push towards David Stone, kind of tweeting at him a lot and even offering his services as, helping him train and get ready. We're talking about, the GOAT when it comes to defensive tackles at Oklahoma. And he's definitely been one of the best in the NFL at his position for a long time as well. He was. So, and if you don't know, he's got a podcast, which is freaking awesome too. Gerald McCoy's been a lot of fun. I think it's pretty cool. And they should hire him in some kind of capacity if you're at Oklahoma, whether it be in the recruiting department. Couldn't hurt to have him as an analyst. But yeah, I see that kind of working itself out. Yeah, as far as the PAC's concerned, guys, I agree. It's been poor leadership. It continues to be the same. I think that's what we were basically getting at. You've had a lot of poor leadership in the Big 12 as well up until this point. The last two commissioners have been kind of worthless, man, as far as I'm concerned. And it was a lot of reaction, never proactive behavior like what you're seeing out of Yormark. So I think that's been huge for the Big 12 and being able to stay alive. And whether or not, as Oklahoma fans, we're all happy that Oklahoma is going to the SEC, and we should be. But I've covered the Big 12 for a long time, been around the Big 12 my whole life. I don't want to see that conference die. If I'm going to see one die, that's not the one I want to see die. Those look down your nose at everybody, folks in the Pac-12. They're kind of earning what they get, if you ask me, when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, so the Gerald McCoy officially retiring thing, though, yeah, man, it's and he deserves some kind of, he's given love to Oklahoma through and through. He is a true Oklahoma guy. He's originally from Oklahoma. Probably the best. I saw where he had been voted the best in-state recruit of all time. I wouldn't argue that. I know there's been some great ones that came out of Oklahoma as well, but who can you say that was better than McCoy? I don't think that you really can. But guys, we've been going for a pretty good while here. Let me know what you think about kind of going a little bit earlier in the day for some of these lives. As I said, we're going to start going live 3 to 4 times a week in the near future. I'm still working on the formatting. There's a couple of things that I need to get finished up with this website. It is going to be there to where you can all check it out here. In fact, you can see it now. It's hofmedia.us. But it's going to get better as we move along with that as well. So be sure to check all that out. You're going to have one place where you can kind of check. Yeah, the Selmans. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that I'm guaranteed. That was the voting. So, it was, but again, I think everybody kind of remembers the recency bias stuff. That has a lot to do with it as well. But the Selman brothers were, they were okay. I'm not going to argue it. I'm not arguing it. But I love me some Gerald McCoy. I know you probably do too. So, let's not, I'm not saying one way or the other. Look, I love all Sooners, so we're good. Whatever, anybody's opinion on this is welcome, at all times. But yeah, hey, listen, we are going to continue to bring you more and more. I'm working on the formatting, obviously, to go often, more often on the live streams. Let me know what you think about the time. If that is better for you, maybe we go a little later on the Tuesdays like we always do, being obviously 8:30 Eastern, but maybe dropping it to, throughout the week. Maybe we drop to 6:30 and then down to 4:30 like this on Fridays. We're looking at least 3 days, so we'll kind of figure out how that goes. But I want your input on that. When is going to be the best time for you to go to be on the show? Because it's all about you guys being here. That's what helps. But again, if you like to support the show, the free way to do it, obviously, is to make sure you hit the like button. We haven't hit 20 likes yet. We've been over 20 for most of the time. If you hadn't hit that like button, please do. That's free, and you help me in a lot of ways by doing that. You can also support the show with tips, whether it be through the Super Chat Heart, Venmo, or Cash App. And then you can buy official podcast merchandise, including stuff from the 5Bs from Oklahoma. You can check that out. Obviously, we have our new all the horns down stuff, like what you see on my head right now. And then we have the new seatbelt line that you'll see in there as well. So check that out. It's on right above here on the official podcast merchandise site. Check that out. Get yourself a new hat, t-shirts, hoodie, tank tops as we're getting close to, summertime. Check it all out there. But again, listen, I'm hoping that they, for sure. But guys, I appreciate everybody coming in. We will definitely I will probably be on FS4 Fanatics tomorrow. Tonight, I will be on the Horns Down podcast with OK Chris. Make sure that you tune in for that one. It's going to be at 7:30 Central Time, which is 8:30 Eastern. We'll be on there. I believe probably have CJ Smith on there as well. We're going to be talking about a few things on the Horns Down. Make sure you get on there and check that one out and get a subscription to the Horns Down podcast if you have not already. They're doing some amazing things between Unfair Sports, the Horns Down podcast, obviously Around the Table Sports and Tide. They're all doing a lot of really awesome stuff. PG Show, they're doing the SEC Connect now, which is a pretty awesome show, man, and kind of getting ready, moving forward on that stuff. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, we've been on, Dominic, we've been on an hour and a half now. So you might want to start over and check it out. So, because we're on our way out as we speak. So yeah, guys, thanks a lot for showing up. Check us out tonight on the Horns Down podcast. Hank, thank you again for always being there. All my regulars, Dakota, Steele, thanks for coming in tonight. Always James, always Jimmy. You guys, thanks a lot for always showing up and supporting the show. We will see you on the next one.